So, year 2, Miss Cawthorne and all the children in year 2 from Howden Church of England infant school, I got your questions. Thank you so much. I've looked at all of them. There are hundreds of them. I don't think I can answer them all. But instead of writing you a letter, what I thought I would do is send you this little film and I'll answer as many of your questions as I can. And I hope that one day I might even be able to come and visit your school in person and tell you some stories. Well, when I was your age, Poppy, I think I wanted to be a footballer. In fact, I'd still quite like to be a footballer. But and I wasn't brought up going to church, but once I started to find out about God and find out about Jesus and become a follower of Jesus, then for me, becoming first of all a priest and now a bishop and now an archbishop was the way that I believed God was calling me. Oh, the most important thing I do each day, Jaden, is I say my prayers, and I try to pray for all the needs of the world. This morning I prayed for your school, but also I try to be like Jesus and to tell people about Jesus. They're the really important bits. Yeah, I love pizza, and I especially love pepperoni pizza, and I like making pizza. Well, my favourite food, I think, is fish. I was brought up by the sea, and I've always loved fish, and I especially love oysters. I don't know whether you've ever eaten an oyster, but they're absolutely delicious, and I also love kippers. Well, God made everything. God made the whole world and everything in the world. So if you're a follower of Jesus, you have to love animals. You have to try to love everyone. And so, yes, I do like animals. And we've got a pet dog, Alfie, who's a bit mischievous. In fact, he's been playing up this morning when we took him for a walk. He was very badly behaved, but he's still a bit of a puppy, so he's learning. Well, I did pray about it, but to become an archbishop, you don't apply for it. It's not a job that you apply for. I was invited to be the 98th. I'm the 98th Archbishop of York, and I'm very, very humbled and glad to do it, because it gives me lots of opportunities to tell people about Jesus. I do, Amelia. I live in this very big house. I don't know whether we'll be able to show you a bit of film of it. We might be able to. We'll see what we can do. It's very big, but I actually live in a flat at the top of the house, and lots of the other rooms are used for meetings and for conferences, and there's lots of people who come to work here each day. Nancy, I do like snow and ice. I like playing snowballs. I like building snowmen. I love going sledging and tobogganing. And once, when it was really, really snowy, I've got 3 sons myself. They're not nice like you. They're all big and horrible now. But when they were younger and nice, once, when it was really, really snowy, we built an igloo in the garden, and my youngest son and the dog slept in the igloo. Oh, that's a difficult question, because I do love books, and I do love Roald Dahl's books, but I think probably the books that I like reading the most are poetry books. I love reading poems, and I read a poem nearly every day, and I think, if you ask me tomorrow, I might have a different answer, but right now, the person who I'm thinking of as my favourite author is somebody called Simon Armitage. He's a Yorkshire poet. He comes from near Huddersfield, where I used to live, and I love his poems. Oh, I don't know. I've lost count. It must be hundreds and hundreds of people, because I've been a vicar and now a bishop and now an archbishop for a long time, over 30 years. And so I've lost count of how many, but I tell you, it's one of the nicest bits of my job. Lydia, I do, and though I might be losing some friends now, I'm a lifelong Spurs fan. My granddad was a Spurs fan, and he took me to White Hart Lane to see Spurs when I was 7 years old, and I've followed Spurs ever since. But also, wherever I've lived, I've also tried to, because you move around a lot as a priest and a bishop, I've always tried to support my local team. So as well as being a number one team, Spurs, at various points in my life, I've supported Reading, Peterborough, Huddersfield, and I think now I'm going to have to become a York City fan. I do have a car, but it's not orange. It's a kind of slate grey colour, a bit of a boring colour, but it is an electric car, which I'm very pleased with and very proud of, because as I'm sure you're aware, one of the big challenges facing our world is we've got to be greener. We've got to treat the world more gently and kindly. So when I got a new car when I became the Archbishop of York, I decided to get an electric car. I was born in a place called Leigh-on-Sea, which is in Essex, down south. My wife, Rebecca, was born in Harrogate, not so far from here in Yorkshire. So that was so Leigh-on-Sea, it's near Southend in Essex, right by the sea. That's my hometown. Yeah, we're getting on to the really difficult questions now. What's my favourite colour? Because I think I change my mind each day, like I do with favourite authors. But I think today I'm going to say blue. Ah, Lexi, now that's a question you shouldn't really ask an archbishop, because I'm supposed to like all the churches equally. But I suppose I'm allowed to say York Minster. Being the Archbishop of York, York Minster is obviously a very special church for me, and a very special church for those of us who live in the Diocese of York and across the north. And I don't know whether you've ever visited York Minster, Lexi. If you haven't, it's fantastic to visit, and it is the most amazing building. And my favourite bit in it is the crypt. Well, I also love Christmas. Who can not love Christmas? But I think of all the Christian festivals, I think I'd have to say that Easter is my favourite festival, because Easter is the heart of the Christian faith, when we remember Jesus dying and rising. Oh, Archie, I don't think I've got a lucky number, but now I think I'm going to have to get one now. So I'm going to say 7. Yes, Beth, I've got three sons who are all now grown up. One of them is married himself, so I've also got one grandson. He's not even a year old, so he's just a baby. Well, yeah, I do love sport, so I love football, I love rugby. I used to play squash and tennis. They're the games. I'm not terribly keen on indoor board games or card games, though I do play them. I like outdoor sport games best of all. Well, the thing is, I don't have a normal working week. Every day and every week for me is different, but some things are always the same. So every day I say my prayers. Every day I hope that I'll have an opportunity to tell people about Jesus, and I do that in lots of different ways in my job as Archbishop, helping to look after the church here in Yorkshire and across the north of England. Well, yeah, I do like broccoli, but it's not my favourite vegetable. If I was doing top 10 vegetables, I don't think broccoli would even get into the top 10. I think broad bean would be up there. I love broad beans. And I love cauliflower. And I do like broccoli, but no, it's not my favourite. Yes, I do. I have lots of hobbies. I love reading. I love writing. I play the guitar, not very well, but I do play the guitar. I love making prints and pictures. And I love cooking. Well, Ian, I've done lots of jobs in the church. So I was a vicar in South London and then in Chichester. Then I worked for the church in West Yorkshire in Huddersfield. Then I worked at Peterborough Cathedral. And I've been a bishop in Reading and in Essex before I became Archbishop of York last year. Oh, Leah, that's a really good question. And I think obviously God is the first thing, because without God there isn't anything. God is the beginning and the source of everything that we have. But other things that are important for me are obviously my home and my family, my friends. And what's also important for me is how we live our lives, that God calls us to be like Jesus. And it's hard to be like Jesus, but I look at it this way. I think if you could be a bit more like Jesus, if I could be a bit more like Jesus, if we could all be a bit more like Jesus, I think the world would be a better place. I don't know what you think, but I think the world would be a better place. Well, actually, I didn't grow up in a religious family. When I was your age, I didn't go to church at all. I only really found out about Jesus and the church when I was a bit older, as a teenager. So no, this wasn't what I always wanted to do. But as I said earlier, once you catch a glimpse of God and who Jesus is, then that does change things in life. Oh, Annie, I do know how you feel. Sometimes when you do a job like mine and you're in the public eye, and sometimes you're speaking to thousands of people, or sometimes you're meeting important people, like I've met the Queen more than once, it's very nerve-wracking. And sometimes I do get nervous. But I believe I'm doing what God wants me to do. And I'd say this to you. If you do in your life what God wants you to do, and if you try to do your best at the things God wants you to do, then even though you're nervous, you'll still be fine. Plus, a few nerves are a good thing. Because often when you've got a few nerves, it helps you give of your best. Oh, Matthew, that's a great question to end on, because I can honestly say that I do enjoy my job. Though, as Miss Cawthorne will probably tell you, every job has a few things in it that you don't like. That's true of every job. But most of it, 90%, 95% of my job, I really enjoy. And what's the best bit? Well, this is the best bit. Honestly, the bit I enjoy the most is telling people about God and telling people about Jesus. I wish I was doing it, actually meeting you face to face, but this is a really good second best. So I'm very grateful that you wrote to me and for all your questions. I haven't answered them all, but I hope this way of answering some of them will be an encouragement to you in your learning, in your school, and may God bless each and every one of you.